Should I start a countdown and then go?
Yeah.
53. 52.
That's such a high number. You're going. That's a long time, and you're not even doing like nice intervals. You were like hanging on it. That's fantastic.
Yeah, okay.
It's a great start.
3, 2, 1. It's that time of the week, broadcasting from a beautiful basement in Burbank, CA. This is 5 out of 4 stars. I mean, you should watch this. I mean, thank the projectionist. I mean, clap at the end. I mean, and our official title, Frame Rate. And I'm your host, Kyle Pendleton. This is a show about movies for people that love movies. We ain't talking about the business of movies. We ain't talking about box office. It's kind of the same thing. We ain't talking Oscar picks. We are talking movies that moved us 90% of the time for good reasons. Every week we have a topic, a ranking, a draft, or whatever else we come up with, and we just chat about why we love those movies. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's introduce our guest, Lydia Braddock, my coworker from our noble company that's letting us use their audio equipment.
Hello.
Hello.
I am Lydia.
Legendary.
So sorry.
How you doing?
I'm here.
Are you ready to cast?
Ready to cast?
Are you ready to pod?
Yeah, I'm ready to
Which
pod.
one do you think sounds better?
I think ready to pod. I'm in the pod.
Okay.
Very, very, very ready. Very ready to go.
So, some people say it's good luck to have bad luck before the show. So we're about to have the greatest podcast of all time.
I think this is going to be not only the biggest hit, I think this is going to take the world by storm.
Avatar 3's got nothing on us.
Avatar 3? Who's that?
Mm-hmm. But I still want to ask you, what made you fall in love with the movies?
They're a great way to think about your life. I loved, growing up, I watched The Truman Show, Dumb and Dumber, and The Matrix on repeat because those were the VHSs I had. And it really taught me a lot about life.
So were you surprised when Jim Carrey didn't show up in The Matrix?
Yes. Very, and why it wasn't a comedy. But, it's a great film.
That's an awesome 3. What was the last movie you saw for the first time that you truly loved?
The last movie I saw for the first time that I truly loved? Probably Autumn Sonata, Bergman.
Oh, I love that movie too.
That movie moved me in such a deep, profound way that I was not expecting, and I just really loved it. I really, really enjoyed it.
I think that movie has one of the all-time bleakest endings, especially when you consider it's just a woman talking to the camera.
100%. I mean, literally, nothing's resolved, everything's bad, and but life moves on, which is, I guess, probably what it's about. So,
And just a hint for the listeners, we might be talking more Bergman later, but I can't confirm that. What was the last movie, not for this podcast, that you rewatched?
I love rewatching movies. Probably the last movie that I rewatched was Amelie.
Oh, nice.
A while ago. Every November I do time loop movies, so I rewatch all of those movies again. So that's potentially coming up depending on when this comes out. But I love rewatching movies because you always get a little bit of something else.
So Amelie is a great intro to our producer, the legendary A.C. Hoffman, because it's one of his favorite movies. And I just want to thank him for being the greatest tech guy in the history of the modern world.
Hell yeah. So many chords, so many things that he's producing over there.
No matter what problem me or the other people he produces for, and he fixes it.
Yeah.
He fixes it every time without fail, whether it's a live show, a podcast, or anything. He's got it down.
Hell yeah.
So, Lydia, the most important question of the day.
Okay.
If you could ride any animal free of animal abuse, which animal would you ride?
I really wasn't expecting this kind of question on the film podcast.
You gotta zig and zag sometimes.
Probably an ostrich because they're perfect for riding, but I would feel too bad about riding any animal, really. But they have like a long neck and like their body seems like it would be perfect for a saddle.
That seems awesome. I have a bad experiences with ostriches in my life, but we'll keep that for another pod.
Yeah.
I rode an elephant when I was 2, but I don't remember it.
I would assume so.
So I don't want to run it back.
Okay.
What we're talking about today is we're calling it Double Up Director, which is directors that have released 2 movies in the same calendar year.
Yeah.
And this happened a lot in the 1930s, so we kind of struck that out because film was different back then.
100%.
So our list of people that accomplished it started post-1950s. If any of the listeners have any questions about that, but very excited for this podcast. We got a list of what we think is the 5 greatest accomplishments of people releasing 2 movies in a calendar year. But before we go into that, I just wanted to ask you, Lydia, what do you think it takes to be able to release 2 movies in a calendar year?
Oh, I mean, probably the most amount of human speed I've ever seen. And, like, we'll get into it later, but, like, some of the locations that some of these people have shot in are just 2 truly opposite ends of the spectrum of the earth.
Yeah.
So it's truly crazy how much time these people put into making these films and how they balance each other in a specific way, as well.
And what I found interesting is in the movies we're going to talk about is some people had a lot of the same collaborators and some people had extremely minimal.
Yes.
And I also found that was fascinating was that it didn't necessarily make it faster to use your same team or to use a completely different team.
Yeah.
It just was kind of random.
Yeah. Well, and also the different headspace that you have to be in, but with like different camera people, different lighting. I imagine that must be insanely difficult to go and immediately make another movie. Just the stress of making one movie is probably too much, honestly.
Yeah. So the reason that we're doing this episode is giving us a double-up director. You should be able to see at least one of them by this time this podcast comes out. One of them is with Ethan Hawke called Blue Moon. From what I understand, it's about him sitting in a room because his playwright partner got more successful than him. And the other one sounds awesome.
That sounds, that's definitely Linklater. That's Linklater all the way.
And the other one sounds awesome. It's called, and I'm incredible at my French pronunciation.
Of course.
Nouvelle Vogue.
Right.
And it's about the making of the 1960 classic Jean-Luc Godard's Breathless. And I'm actually really excited for that one. But that's what inspired us to go on that. But for our number 5 in the list of greatest double-up accomplishments actually was 2024 Luca Guadagnino.
Yes.
If I can pronounce Italian correctly, which I can. I'm famously very good at speaking.
Yeah.
So Luca Guadagnino, he had Challengers, and then later in the year, he had Queer.
Yeah.
And I'm going to throw this to you, Lydia. Well, we both agreed. This was actually the idea for the list, was that he did this last year.
Yes.
But why, in your opinion, did this instantly crack the top 5?
Not only are they 2 amazing films, but they're dealing with such quite different topics in the same kind of way. Challengers is just such an interesting, speed take, whereas Queer really takes its time in the romance. They're both, Challengers isn't inherently queer, but it's definitely a queer film. Yeah,
I think it
100%.
is. Like the Josh O'Connor and Mike Faye star. There's it's not even just subtext with the churro.
Yeah,
it's just text.
Yeah. But you get into what does it mean to be a man friendship, but also a romantic man friendship is such a very interesting. They take place in different times and in different places, but you can feel the bonds between them in a very specific way. I think these movies really balance each other in a very fun way.
Yeah, I think it's also notable that they're both written by Justin Kurtisaics, totally pronounced correctly. Once again, must renounce, famously great at that stuff. And I feel like one of them is the most obvious throuple love triangle movie ever, and I do want to give respect to Challengers that it's like the only love triangle movie where it's actually a triangle.
Yes, yeah.
Because most of the time it's actually a V, and the two guys don't love each other. Suck it, Twilight.
Yes.
But in Challengers, it actually delivers on that, and in Queer, he's in love. Slight spoilers for Queer.
Well, you're listening to a film podcast,
and it's also not really a spoilerly heavy movie because it's really about the characters rather than shocking twists. Daniel Craig's character is in love with Drew Starkey's character, but he seems to be in love with other people, especially maybe that woman, maybe not. And it leads Daniel Craig to pretty much go on a quest wanting to read that guy's mind.
Yeah. Well, and, it's what it meant to be out as gay, especially in the time period. You got the height of McCarthyism, the height of the Lavender Scare. So, what does being out mean for these characters? They literally had to run to Mexico to be themselves,
Yeah.
And they were there's so many different shots in that movie where you feel Daniel Craig be empty because he doesn't really know what he's looking for.
Yeah, he's so lost in that movie, but also, in my opinion, even the journey that he goes on to find truth and stuff just makes him more confused.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I don't feel like he actually, like, nailed it. And then there's also, like, one of my favorite sequences is when Drew Starkey's character actually take care of him.
Yes.
Is that love, or does he just not want to see the other guy die?
Exactly, yeah. And what does that mean for this person's your friend, but, you know, they're also your lover, but what role do we have in each other's romantic and platonic relationships?
Yeah, and I really love Queer because it's so much about, it's so subtle. Even though I think Daniel Craig at times is going pretty big with his performance, and it's one of my favorite performances of last year.
Yeah.
I think it's his best, in my opinion. His performance sometimes is bombastic. I think it's a really subtle movie about how you don't know what's going on with other people. While with Challengers, I feel like they do know exactly what the other two characters want, and they're kind of caught between whether they're like super into that or hate it.
Yes, definitely. And I mean, down to the point, spoilers, down at the very end, you know, when he puts the ball in the middle of the rackets, the communication is very visual and very deep between the two people because they grew up together in college. And so it's very interesting to see what reading your mind and reading social cues is visually, and then what it is actually visually and Queer with the scene. Yeah, with the like ayahuasca trip scene.
And my other thing that I think is so impressive about this accomplishment is, as we talked about, that they're so stylistically different. But in Queer, some of the needle drops are 90s grunge, while in Challengers, Luca Guadagnino talked about how he wanted the tennis scenes to feel like live action anime. And he's the only, I don't watch a lot of anime, so I guess I'm not the authority on this matter, but I have seen some. I think he's the only director to actually like actively create a live action anime feel, and to pull anime and like 90s grunge, but also Queer's an adaptation of a 1950s William S. Burroughs knowledge.
Right.
Like, whatever is going on in that guy's mind, the complete variation of where he's taking stuff from, I think is also what helps make this two works of art both stand alone, but also like together in that quick of a time span. You're just like, how?
Yeah.
Like, how did he go from there to there?
Well, and like understanding, you can really feel that he understands the work of Burrow like a lot. I mean, being, you know, a gay man. I don't know. It's very interesting. I think, unfortunately, that's the only part I didn't like about Queer. I love Nirvana. I love Nirvana so much. It did not need to be in that movie, personally. I know other people feel different about it, but I did not like the needle drops in Queer, personally.
The needle drops were also odd to me because it's being scored, I believe it was scored by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, so it's already being scored by 90s rock icons, and they're like, let me just get some others in there. I want to say my one thing with Challengers is that I really thought that the movie, I'm just going to say it,
okay,
they should have fucked.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
I think Mike Face and Jacqueline O'Connor, like the last twist, full spoilers, being that Zendaya went back and she slept with O'Connor.
Right.
I was like, oh, we've kind of already done that plot point before. And I really liked the movie, but that bothered me a little bit. On the second watch, knowing that was coming, my mind kind of breezed past it, and I actually saw the movie just fully loving it.
Right.
But the first time I watched it, I wish that it had pulled the reversal of she thinks about leaving their hotel room, does it, and then he leaves the hotel room.
Yeah.
And then they could have left it a little ambiguous.
Well, and they really do set up so many times that it could have happened.
Yeah.
I had the same exact thought. I love the subtext. I love the character development and the character playing off each other. It should have been more gayer. I was really, really, really hoping for a little bit more gayer.
I think there should have been at least one scene of exploration. Now, I do want to go on that the person we chose for number 4, Mel Brooks' 1974, Blazing Saddles and Young Frankenstein.
Yes.
The ending of Young Frankenstein, which I saw as a child and had to rewatch for this, is also a very sexual exploration.
Yeah.
And I had completely forgot about that.
Totally.
And I really was wondering how my parents felt and showing me that when I was like 8 years old. I did not get it, but what if I did?
Yeah.
Then they would have been bad parents for at least a couple weeks.
I mean, I completely feel you. I saw a lot of movies growing up that I probably shouldn't have, but you know, when you're a kid, you don't really understand. But yeah, most of Mel Brooks' stuff is like, I saw that when I was a child? Are you kidding me? That's crazy.
And do a little bit more intro to the Mel Brooks stuff and describe the scene. But spoilers for Young Frankenstein, also not a very spoiled movie because it's a comedy.
It's also been out for a long time.
Is that Gene Wilder gives some of his brain matter to the monster that he creates so that it can live a better life. And they have a joke where his new wife asks Gene Wilder, "What'd you get in return?" And he makes a noise as they go to bed together, and she has remarked about how big the monster schlong must be previously in the movie, I think twice.
Twice, yeah.
And I'm glad 8-year-old me didn't pick up on that, because
Right.
I think that would imply that I had a bad childhood. But Young Frankenstein, I've seen it once and then I rewatched it for this, and I have a lot of fond memories of it, and I still have fond memories for it.
Yeah.
It was surprisingly sparse on jokes compared to Blazing Saddles.
Yes, I completely agree. It was a lot slower than I remember it being, but you definitely felt his form and his understanding of the genre was just so strong that I kind of forgave it at times. But yeah, like compared to Blazing Saddles, it was like I feel like he got all of his jokes that he wanted to do out in Blazing Saddles and then came back and was, let's make a form movie.
I was researching what happened and how this came out in the same year, which is essentially like they were making Blazing Saddles, and then Gene Wilder was like, I have an idea for another Frankenstein movie, and Mel Brooks was like, that's a bad idea, and then he told him the idea, and he's like, we can make it, and then Gene Wilder said something along the lines of, well, I don't want you in the movie. So essentially, I think this has to also go down as one of the best actors greenlighting their own movies, because most of the time you get Bruce Willis, Hudson Hawk.
Right.
It's never a good idea, but I think Gene Wilder, being a comedian, making Mel Brooks laugh and being like, this will be funny. The fact is, like, he did it in black and white, and they really commit to the look of Frankenstein.
Oh, yeah.
Though they pull a lot from Dracula.
Yeah.
I don't believe the original Frankenstein, and maybe this is actually, we might have to cut this. I might just be straight up wrong, but actually maybe we should keep it if I'm straight up wrong. I don't think the original Frankenstein took place in Transylvania.
No, I don't believe so. I don't remember. It's been yeah.
Also, so our producer's Googling right now. But Blazing Saddles, of all the movies we're about to talk about, that the Mel Brooks duo, even though I think it's an incredible accomplishment, this is the one where I feel much more passionately about one than the other. Is that Blazing Saddles is one of my favorite comedies of all time.
Yes.
And it has probably the joke I think about the most in any comedy, which is where he says it's time to make Jesse Owens and run. And I just laugh about it all the time.
Right.
You know, a lot of people say that they couldn't make Blazing Saddles today, and I agree. The people are dead.
Yeah, well, yeah, no, I think that's crazy. They could definitely make Blazing Saddles today. But what's it called? There's one thing to have a comedy, and then there's one thing to have a comedy that has a message. And it really, I mean, as much as it is stupid and silly, it really does. It hits home for dealing with racism, especially in Hollywood, you know?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of stuff excellent about Blazing Saddles, and I think one of the things is that the message is strong and the character dynamic between the main character, Gene Wilder's character, is great, but also that they just have so many just out there that are just like bits that just work, like the shaky hands.
Yes.
Like when he's shaking his hand and he's got a really steady hand and this really shaky hand and he points at the wrong hand and he goes, that's my shooting hand. It's like hard to describe, but a really funny moment where you're like, that's so stupid, but it works.
Or them all being named Johnson.
Yeah. And then like the ending where it turns out that it's on a studio lot and then they're showing up to the premiere and the battle continues is just so completely stunning the first time you see it, because like, this kind of confirmed I don't think they knew how to end that movie.
Oh yeah, well it's
just like let's this will be really funny.
Yeah. Well, and it's like I think the only thing that I don't like about the movie was the fart scene. I hate that scene.
Oh,
I think I even hated it as a kid. I really don't like that scene.
So one thing that future longtime listeners will learn is that I hate poop. I hate farts. I'm not a bodily fluid or bodily function type of guy. I wish that we only existed as speaking voices.
Okay.
That's not true at all.
Yeah.
I don't. The podcast mic has taken over my brain.
Right.
And now I've lost it. No, but I don't like that scene either. But I think that it is important to note that it's probably the most enduring sequence from that movie. So much so that Greta Gerwig filmed the version of it for Barbie and then was told, this is terrible.
Yeah.
You have to cut it out. And I think that it's a testament to Blazing Saddles that it can have that sequence and then still be funny the very next scene. Like
That's
it can
true.
bounce back.
Yeah.
If I saw that in many movies, I would have just been deflated and it couldn't recover.
Yeah.
But I do want to throw this to our producer, A.C. Hoffman. Did he get an answer about Frankenstein?
Yeah, so the book takes place in Sweden, I believe. And then the movie takes place in Germany. Sorry, book, maybe, in Switzerland.
So Young Frankenstein Transylvania is they're just putting him next to
Yeah.
Dracula in case of the future crossover.
Of course, yeah. In case Mel Brooks wants to make a Dracula movie.
And he's only 100, so he's got a few more movies,
Yeah.
I think.
History of the World Part 3 is going to come out probably.
Yeah.
We got a whole thing
He's
for it.
doing Spaceballs too, right as we speak.
Very true.
Which I guess my hot take on Mel Brooks is that Spaceballs is like of his like parody ones, like fourth on the ones I've seen, like in terms of ranking. Like I would watch Blazing Saddles, High Anxiety, then probably Young Frankenstein, and then Spaceballs.
I got to put the Producers up there as well.
See, I haven't seen that one.
Producers is great. I do
Yeah.
love the Producers a lot. Just Gene Wilder going crazy, so you can't really go wrong with that.
But speaking of High Anxiety, and not to my therapist, we got to talk about the man that High Anxiety was parodying, Alfred Hitchcock, with our
Yes.
number 3, with Rear Window and Dial M for Murder in the same year.
Yeah. Absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Oh, especially shooting Dial M for Murder on 3D, like something he had never done before. So not only did he make this incredible feat of making 2 insanely good movies, he did one on a format that he'd really never worked with before.
Yes, and I'm not excusing Alfred Hitchcock of any of his personal stuff, but I
Well,
do
yeah.
think he is the greatest director, so I'm really happy that we get to talk about him right now. And I think that these 2 movies in the same year, along with Dial M for Murder in 3D, is because it mostly plays out in a couple of rooms. And Rear Window plays out through the window.
Yeah.
This, I think, is his most creative period. A lot of people talk about the 50s Hitchcock period because it has all of his best movies pretty much. But I think this specific year, right before he did Vertigo, there was, I think, a movie or 2 in between, but he was gearing up for it, which most people would say is his masterpiece, though I could go on about which ones I think for hours. And we will do that on this podcast, but
Right.
not this episode.
Yes.
But the idea of him being at the top of his game and doing these 2 movies of like, oh, I'm going to challenge myself. We're only going to take place in Jimmy Stewart's room and shooting out that window, and I'm going to make a masterpiece, in my opinion. And then doing that for Dial M for Murder, he's like, well, now it's time to do 3D. It's just like, okay, man, call your shot.
Yeah. Well, and they're both so... I think they're just so balancing of each other. They could almost be the same movie just from truly 2 different perspectives because they
Yeah.
basically are the same, well, I mean, obviously different, but pretty similar in themes, but just different perspectives.
In one, you're looking into the room, and
Yeah.
the other, you're hiding while in the room.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. I saw Dial M for Murder on my couch on my dad's iPad under a blanket when I was 12 years old. And I think when your dad opens the blanket to see what you're watching, I think there's very few things that they'd probably be like, why? There's other things that you get in trouble for.
Right.
But there's probably very few that you expect your 12-year-old to be watching. Oh, he's checking out Dial M for Murder on Netflix. And I was like, Dad, I mean, I liked Rear Window when I watched it in my 7th grade film class, so why not click the next one? And he was like, it's a great movie. And then he showed me the more Hitchcock ones. So Rear Window and Dial M for Murder were my first 2 Hitchcocks. And sadly for this podcast, didn't get to do a full rewatch of Dial M for Murder. I was a little bit bummed, but it made me realize that I need to.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw it a lot on that Netflix, on that iPad, which is notably not in 3D. So I do have it pretty well imprinted into the brain, but it just made me like really want to watch it now that I've seen 20 more Hitchcock movies and I'm well over a decade older, is
Right.
that I was like, I need to get my hands on this again. But Rear Window I actually saw in theaters in June at the Egyptian.
Oh, wow.
And it was beautiful. It was awesome. I went with my girlfriend, my parents, and one of my uncles, great guy. It was a packed house, and it was people of all ages. Some people brought their kids. Some people were elderly. And what I didn't expect was how funny the first half plays.
Yeah. I watched it for the first time for this podcast.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and I was not expecting truly how funny Jimmy Stewart would be. I mean, almost every line delivery, and he does such a great job in this movie. His acting is incredible. Every time he like hits himself with his little scratcher, every
Yeah.
time he makes a wisecracking comment to the detective, it's so funny.
I always thought it was witty and funny, but then in the theater, the laughter starts rising. Even some of the scenes that I remember thinking like a snicker were getting a full belly laugh out of me and everybody. And so it made it even better when it went very serious at the end.
Yeah.
And my other story with Rear Window that I want to tell is that I met, just like I met Lydia at work, I met our producer AC at work, and it was one of his first days. And we were particularly busy at the moment, so I turned Rear Window on my phone, and I put it in front of him. Also, just kind of see what he was going to do because, like, I don't really like when people ever show me a YouTube video and make me watch it. But I was like, dude, this is a classic movie, and we don't really have much going on. Do you want to watch it? And he kind of just, like, shrugged, and I didn't know if it was really a strong yes or a strong no, and then he just watched the whole thing. The only time is I had to take a break for a second because my girlfriend was texting me, and then I had to, like, be like, I can't talk to you right now. AC's got to finish this movie. And then an hour later, she was like, what do you mean AC had to finish the movie? Why was he watching on your phone? It's like, I needed to show him Rear Window. And I want to ask him his opinion of that experience and the movie.
My experience with Rear Window?
Yeah.
Rear Window was one of the first movies where 20 minutes in, I'm like, oh no, this is just going to be the movie. And being at work added a layer of, I'm in this chair similar to how he is in the movie, where it's like, I'm planted and I'm witnessing what's going on. And I was thinking, because the way that you were talking about it made it seem like there was like this high anticipation of what is going to go on with, and I forget if it's a spoiler, but what's going to go on with the murder. Right?
Yeah.
It reminded me of horror films of the similar age where it's like, oh, this isn't going to be crazy, scary, like modern horror where it really, like the believability of the visuals of it. The anticipation of the film wasn't hitting as hard as like, you know, a modern Mission Impossible. But it was a nice revisit of like, oh, this is what films, like that anticipation that we feel now is how people were probably feeling in that age of film. And so, yeah, it was a nice throwback to a time that I hadn't really thought through before.
And so much of Rear Window and Dial M for Murder is played like a play. So, like, I really like what you said, AC, when it's like, I was stuck sitting here. It's like you're sitting down and you're watching the production, and it almost really felt like a play. Even at the end of the movie when the curtains fall down, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He's got 2 broken legs, but he decides to get hitched.
Wow. Yeah, it's true. Mm-hmm. My only complaint about the movie is the fact that he doesn't want to be with Gene Kelly.
Grace Kelly?
Sorry, Grace Kelly. It's
if he didn't want to be with Gene Kelly, that would also be a fascinating premise.
Yeah, but like, it's like, are you stupid?
Yeah, I love how like she comes in and they give her one of the shots. Like, I mean, she's really beautiful, but they like, you know, she's in those dresses and the music's swelling. It's like she's the most beautiful woman in the world, and he's like, you can't handle it with me, and she's like, I can, and he's like, I don't know about that, and it's like. That's a man through and through.
Yeah.
That's a guy that fought in World War II
100%.
and actually never recovered.
Yeah.
That is the secret subtext to Rear Window.
Well, I mean, that's true. But also, like, the nurse being like, you're a fucking idiot if you don't marry this woman. Like, she is perfect. He's like, oh, too perfect. It's like, fuck you, Jimmy Stewart.
Fantastic duo of films. And now we're going to dial S for Spielberg. That might have sucked. I'm not sure. AC, what's the rating on that transition?
Oh, we got a big
hit.
Okay. Yeah, there you go.
Well, then we're keeping it, maybe.
Dial S for Spielberg.
And so this has got to be the biggest and most famous. Even if people don't know it's a double, it is, because it's Jurassic Park at the time. Highest grossing movie of all time. And Schindler's List, I believe at the time, the second biggest Oscar sweep. And I think it was tied for the record in nominations and Best Picture winner. And the definitive Holocaust movie to the global public.
Oh, yeah.
There are some that I think film fans might like more, and we might talk about that in a few minutes. But I think it's definitely the most iconic one. And I think it is one of the best movies ever made. But I just want to say I also feel the same about Jurassic Park.
Yes.
Sue me.
No, I see. This is, I think, the hardest one because both of them are amazing. Both of them are 5 out of 5 movies. They're just the most different movie. It's like finding out what your criteria for rating is, and it's like, well, you can't rate Jurassic Park and Schindler's List together, but they are both 5 out of 5. It's the biggest stark difference of a movie set I have ever seen in my life, and how his mindset must have been on Schindler's List. Which one, do you know which one he directed first?
So he directed Jurassic Park first.
That's crazy.
And then he was shooting Schindler's List during the CGI while they were doing the CGI for Jurassic Park, and he let George Lucas actually handle a lot of that. Because from what I understand, he didn't want to shoot Schindler's List at the time that he did, but the winter conditions were perfect where they needed to shoot it, so they were like, we have to do it this year. We might not get another chance for a while. So I think for a lot of these, they were like, oh yeah, they could come out in the same year.
Right.
For Steven Spielberg, it was absolutely not on purpose.
Yeah.
And that's why he didn't necessarily abandon Jurassic Park, but he had to give it to one of his good friends whose company was already doing the special effects, but he had to put more faith in there than I believe he initially intended to.
Right. I mean, still, the headspace that you have to go into from doing your big budget dinosaur movie to going into one of the best dramas and like, oh, I need to think about the Holocaust now for a long period of time, must have been truly mind-bending a little bit.
Yeah. The other part that's so impressive is both these movies are long.
Yeah.
Like, Jurassic Park is over 2:15.
Yes.
I think it's a little bit below 2:30.
Yeah, I want to say it's like, I just watched it. It's like 2:17 or 2:18 or something like that.
And Schindler's List is 3:15. And it's a devastating watch, obviously.
Yes.
But also, nobody else on this list has this combined runtime.
Yeah.
For their two films. And also, like, Schindler's List was really influential on what eventually became modern color grading because of the girl in the red. He did that, and it was kind of hard with the technology at the time. And so I believe the technologies that became what they used in Oh Brother, Art There in Traffic, just like Jurassic Park, the T-Rex in that still holds up. It was the biggest CGI creation up to that point and really proved how much further it would go. That I think those movies were the most influential in the blockbuster realm and the drama realm.
Yeah.
Compared to all the ones that we previously talked about, that no one will ever accomplish this again. Like he was on the highest grossing movie of all time and Schindler's List, or at the time, it's been surpassed.
Right.
Is just such a crazy accomplishment. And I was teasing Lydia before the show that I was going to go on here and say that Jurassic Park is the better movie. I don't actually believe that, but the take that I want to say is that you can't say Jurassic Park is better than Schindler's List just because it makes you sound insane. But if you were to write a list that said Spielberg ranked and you were to put Schindler's List at like 6 and Jurassic Park at like 2, people could go, in the context of his career, I get what you're saying. But the straight up 1-to-1 comparison, nobody is ever with it, ever. I've tested it.
Yeah, and you tested it on me, and I feel like I looked at you like you were a crazy person because it is an insane take. Again, I don't think they're comparable except for like the evils of man, you know what I mean? But like, it's not comparable. I would also not put Schindler's List at a 6 and Jurassic Park at a 2 personally.
On the Spielberg ranked list? What's your number 1?
Probably Schindler's List.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I mean,
but have you ever seen Hook?
I have. I loved that movie growing up. I rewatched it as an adult, and I was like, oh.
It's really bad.
That is really bad.
No,
I loved it as a child,
It is really bad. My take, Schindler's List is great. Do you know what other movie Liam Neeson and Ray Fiennes have both been in together?
No. Love Actually, maybe? No.
Wrath of the Titans.
Wrath of the Titans.
What is Schindler's List reunion? I believe there's a third movie also.
That's crazy.
But yeah, the Schindler's List reunion, one of them playing Zeus and one of them playing Hades, which honestly is kind of what they're doing in Schindler's List.
Yeah, it's that juxtaposition of like people, but that's crazy. They were in Wrath of the Titans?
Wrath of the Titans. Not even Clash of the Titans.
Yeah.
I saw both.
But, I mean, that being said, Ray Fiennes aside for his political stuff, but I think best performances Liam Neeson and Ray Fiennes have ever given and probably will ever give.
Yeah.
Hands down. And also, on the Jurassic Park side, really, really good performance from Samuel L. Jackson and Sam Neill. And I loved Laura Dern. I just love Laura Dern, though. As someone that I think has seen, I mean, I saw Jurassic Park when I was a kid. I rewatched it. And there were so many scenes that I just completely forgot were in it because I was a child, obviously. But I loved how you could feel the Steven Spielberg, like, loving children coming into the movie. Even, like, when, I don't know his real name, but Newman from Seinfeld, when he dies, when he falls down, when the Jeep gets stuck, there's, like, a little stinger of him going, like, woo! When he falls down, I was like, oh, right, it's a kid's movie. This is, like, it's a scary movie. Like, I remember being scared when I was a kid, but it's like, oh, it's still a kid's movie.
Yeah, they're anticipating kids being in the audience.
Yeah.
Okay, I have one more thing about Jurassic Park.
Okay.
And I have one more thing about Schindler's List.
Right.
So Jurassic Park, we're going to jump to Jurassic World 3, Dominion, the 6th of the franchise. In Jurassic Park, Newman yells, oh, everybody, it's Dobson over here.
Right.
I believe that's his name.
Yeah, Dogson, something
That
like that.
actor went to prison.
In real life?
in real life
Okay,
for terrible crimes.
great.
In Jurassic World 3, the sixth movie of the franchise. So also from 1993 to I believe 2021, 28, 29 years later. No, 27, 28 years later. No, you know what? I'm actually not that bad at math, but about 28 years later.
Right.
The podcast does things to your
Yeah.
brain.
28
It
years later,
corrupts
starring
it
Ray
instantly.
Fiennes, of course.
Yes,
Yeah.
which I haven't seen yet.
I haven't seen either.
In Dominion, they bring Dobson back, but with a different actor. And there was a lot of people, not a lot of people like that movie, made $1 billion.
Right.
But I heard an argument and a defense from a person that was like, well, if it was the same actor, people would have been able to like clue in that that was supposed to be the bad guy. And I still say, absolutely not.
No.
Discount 90s Ryan Gosling did not make a memorable impression that almost 30 years later we'd see that character and go, ah, dang.
Yeah, it's like, oh, he looks the exact same. That's how it's like, no.
No, he did not.
Like, what are we talking about?
And so that movie was really bad. But now let's go to Schindler's List for my last thing about Schindler's List.
Right.
Is that some people have the criticism that Schindler's List, because it has a happy ending, is actually bad for it to be the definitive Holocaust movie. Also that the main character is not Jewish. But it's made and was written by Jewish people.
Well, but that's also, I mean, that's what happened in real life. Not everyone that
It's a true
helped
story.
Jewish people were Jewish
Yeah.
people.
So-
That was how he was able to do what he was doing.
You know what? I agree. I don't share this complaint. I
Right.
thought it was interesting because even notable directors such as previously mentioned Jean-Luc Godard said stuff like that at the time. All of Steven Spielberg's friends and obviously history and at the time have borne Steven Spielberg as this movie's fantastic. It's
Right.
great. But just for the sake of throwing in, if you really want some depressing Holocaust movies, Zone of Interest and Son of Saul,
Yeah.
those get it done.
Yeah.
And not if Schindler's List wasn't depressing enough for you, or if you're looking for even more depressing and even better cry, Zone of Interest and Son of Saul are fascinating movies to watch. And I just think that that film theory aspect of it should be noted. I think all three of the movies are excellent. I would not personally triple feature them.
Yeah. Well, and you also have the one that just came out with Eisenberg and.
Real Pain.
Yeah, Real Pain. I mean, if you want a Holocaust movie that's just about going to a concentration camp and also, hey, crying as well in that movie.
Yeah.
Like, you could also just watch that. But that's insane. I didn't know people had that take that they didn't like that the main character wasn't Jewish.
Yeah, that was the take from Jean-Luc Godard and some other directors at the time was basically the movie should have entirely taken place. It should have just been like a depiction of what happened at the camp. And I think that there is space for that movie. Like, I love film criticism and film theory, but that's something that I get into, or like I think a lot, is sometimes people will say, I think this movie would have been better if it did this. And I'm like, I actually think that there should just be two movies. A big
Right.
one for that was Oppenheimer for me because it didn't show what happened to Japan. But the movie was titled Oppenheimer. I think it's completely fair that it was about the guy in America.
Yeah.
But there absolutely should be, and there has been, movies about nuclear fallout in Japan. I mean, the most famous one being Godzilla
Right.
might not be the most literal take people are looking for.
Right.
But I promise you they're out there. And that's kind of my thing is that I love film criticism. I love reading it. I don't think I'd be doing a podcast if I didn't think it was
sure.
valuable
Yeah.
to be talking about film criticism. But my take on the Schindler's List thing is that we can just have two movies.
Well, but it's also, I personally think it should still be one movie because it's so important to not only show, I mean, there's horrible things in that movie. That does happen.
Yeah.
And it's showing someone, that there is hope, that there is like someone still trying to do something in a terrible place. Not unlike now, but like that there is hope, and it needed that hope. Especially, we need to think about the Holocaust as, this was horrible, this happened, but there were people in it that were trying to help and still weren't able to help sometimes. But that's the whole point of the movie. It's hope.
Yeah, I could have saved more.
Yeah, and obviously, one of the worst things that happened in human history.
I think we all agree on that.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm saying
that's a
crazy
pretty
take.
easy take right there.
Mhm.
But yeah.
A layup of a take.
Yeah, how brutal they kill Ray Fiennes' character.
Yeah.
It's like the end of Jojo Rabbit, you know what I mean? Like, also completely different film.
How do you feel about Jojo Rabbit real quick?
I do love, I really liked Jojo
I really
Rabbit.
love it.
Yeah.
It's my mom's favorite movie probably in the last decade.
I mean, it also shows the brutality of what happened from a child's perspective. But
Yeah.
you don't really see you don't really see a lot of movies from the Nazis' perspective.
Yeah. Well, there's also Zone of Interest.
Well, that's true. A child's Nazis' perspective.
Yeah. I think there's a shocking amount, now that we're talking about it, of really great Holocaust movies.
Yeah.
I would never do that marathon.
No,
But
never.
now that I'm thinking about it, there's a lot that I'm like, wow, that was actually a really incredible
Well,
movie.
it was, just a pretty big point in human history
Yeah, there
or
should,
whatever.
I'm not saying there definitely should be more than one movie about it. It should be well trodden ground. We
Right.
don't want people to forget.
Yes.
Before we get to our number one, I just want to give it to Lydia. She has an honorable mention.
I do. Alice Mayo McKay. I don't know how to pronounce her name. I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce her name.
That's my bit. I'm the one that can't pronounce things.
You get everything. Anyways, she did 2 movies in 2023, one called T-Blockers and the other one called Satanic Panic. She's a trans woman. She's only 21 years old, and she's made 4 or 5 movies. They're like really campy, B-movie horror, neon, that kind of style.
As the internet calls it, bisexual lighting.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely bisexual lighting. They're really campy. They're fun. They're kind of stupid. They're great. I highly recommend. They're both on Tubi, I think. But yeah, in 2023, she put out 2 movies, and she's only 21. That's crazy.
That is really crazy.
Yeah. And then there's also bigger director honorable mentions if you wanted to run through those as well.
Actually, let's do that too.
We got Ridley Scott with Black Hawk Down and Hannibal, which is also a crazy one, too.
Yeah, but I think it doesn't deserve to make the list.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I would agree. Joseph Mankiewicz with All About Eve and No Way Out.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. We also have Kurosawa with Rashomon and Scandal.
I have not seen Scandal.
I have not seen Scandal either. And then also Spielberg again with Catch Me If You Can and Minority Report, which is also 2 crazy films.
Yeah, that is a crazy one. And I do want to throw out there that Clint Eastwood has done it, I believe, 6 times, but none of them for any movies that he made that were good. So he's the exact reason why you don't do this.
Right.
Because I don't want to give too much credit to Eastwood, but Unforgiven is a movie I do think is really fantastic. The fact that he could make that. But if you look at his list of movies he did make in the same year, and they're all his lowest rated movies every time, you go, yeah, don't do that.
Yeah, it's almost like you don't know how to split your time. Yeah.
But now, after those honorable mentions, it's time to go to our number one.
Uno.
And so we chose this as the number one, and I believe this is Lydia's favorite director.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Even though Steven Spielberg may have made more cultural and colloquial impact, everybody knows those 2 movies. This is a film podcast for movie lovers, so we want to put this at number one because we love these 2 movies, and we hope that you'll take our word for it and maybe watch them if you haven't seen them. And it's Ingmar Bergman with The Seventh Seal and Wild Strawberries.
Such amazing movies. I rewatched Wild Strawberries for this. Every time I watch that movie, I love it even more. It's David Lynch's Wet Dream. You have so much, just so much thought about regret and like what it means to be a human and what it means to die. I love Bergman so much. He's such a weird guy.
Well, very odd guy. When I was in college, I did a report on Bergman.
Same.
And it went super well, but also super poorly. So I watched Seventh Seal, was the first movie I watched from him, because my mom told me it was good, which is kind of like a crazy pull. But when we eventually have longtime listeners to the podcast, people will know that both my parents were big film fans, like to an extent, not like in the industry, but they both love art a lot. So they both had a couple really deep pulls that they showed me. So I watched Seventh Seal at 17. I watched Wild Strawberries and Persona when I was 18, my freshman year of college. And then I kind of took a break. I think I watched one movie before my senior year of college. And in my senior year of college, I did a project, my big final report. I had to do a retrospective on a director. And it was between Yashiro Uzu, also one of my favorites, Ingmar Bergman. And so I watched 12 Bergman movies in 3 days 20 total.
Right.
And I rewatched, so 17 new because I rewatched the 3 I'd seen, or the 4 I'd seen. Maybe it was 16 new, I don't know. And because I had talked about 15 of them, and I didn't want to force myself into a situation where I really didn't understand or didn't like one or didn't want to write about it, so I watched extra. But the 12 Bergman movies in 3 days, like, literally ruined my mood for the ensuing month.
Yeah, I mean, half of his movies are about death. Does religion matter or exist, or should it exist? Yeah, that must have been the most depressed you could have been.
It was. It was like, I wouldn't say that no, I guess, span of movies has ever had such an actual effect on my mood than my Bergman experience. And I don't know if that's actually the best advertisement to our listeners, but all I'm saying is they're really powerful. And I want to bring this back to Seventh Seal. With what we're saying about how the topics are heavy, Seventh Seal especially is surprisingly funny.
And honestly, it has such of like a love to it. Like, obviously, a few of these people are horrible. They're bad people. But there's so much love, especially... I guess I won't spoil the end because this is like our big recommendation.
But I think that you should introduce the beginning because I'm not sure a lot of people know the plot.
He, a crusader knight, comes home during the plague and begins playing chess with death on a beach and philosophically debating what the meaning of life is. Did it matter? Does religion matter? Coming to terms with what it means to be a good person, what it means to be a bad person. Yeah.
And then also has like kind of a split storyline of him on a journey. That I do want to know because that's where most of the humor comes in. But the depiction of death in this movie and the playing chess with death is still iconic. I think most people have seen it at least parodied. It was actually parodied in a Super Bowl ad last decade.
Oh,
so
really?
Everybody, like at least 100 million people have passingly saw that.
Right.
But what I would say is that his movies, I feel like, do a little bit sound like the thing that people say is like, oh, that's an art house, artsy fartsy movie, but they're actually very watchable. They're not 3 hours long most of the time.
I think Wild Strawberries and Seven Seal are both like an hour and a half, hour 40 or something.
They actually move really fast. They're surprisingly funny, and they are genuinely thought-provoking.
Yeah.
And I think that Max von Sydow in Seven Seal, but also the rest of his performances in Bergman's work, one of the best actors ever. The place that most people will have seen him is his one scene in Star Wars Episode 7, the opening scene.
I didn't know that.
I always find that like a really interesting near the end of his career. He lived to almost 100, I believe. But yeah, if you love movies, it looks beautiful. It's really interesting. It's surprisingly funny. And you will think about, well, for Seven Seal, you will think about death, which is a heavy topic. But I think it's a really fascinating experience, and I highly recommend. And now let's go to Wild Strawberries really quickly.
Yeah, I love Wild Strawberries. A doctor is getting an honorary degree at a college, decides instead of to fly to Lund, he's going to drive to Lund with his daughter-in-law, and then he picks up some hitchhikers along the way, and they deal with religion, and they deal with memory, and what that means to the doctor and him recounting his life. And is he a guilty man?
There's a lot of regret.
A lot of regret.
And I think a lot of movies, the old person reflecting on life is a tropey story at this point.
Yes.
And I think the only way to do it is honestly just earnestly. But what I really respect most about Wild Strawberries is he's an impressive guy, and he's harboring stuff. But there's no truly dramatic, horrible secret, as far as I can remember. There's no truly dramatic, horrible secret. He's just a guy. And I think that makes it all the more impactful.
Yeah, you don't even really get into what kind of science he does in the movie because it's not important. What is important is the relationship he has with his daughter-in-law, how he is kind of a bad person. Like, you hear all these anecdotes about how he's a bad person, and then in the actual movie, he's just kind of a dude. He's just kind of there. I feel really strongly about the idea that he is either getting Alzheimer's, he's dying. At the very beginning, he's playing chess with no one but himself. And his relationships and him thinking about his relationships and how cold that he's been. My favorite line in the movie, he goes and sees his mother. Spoilers.
Oh, yeah.
He goes and sees his mother, and she has an amazing line where she's like, oh, I'm cold. My stomach has always been cold. And it's like the womb literally feeding all of these 10 children that she has, and like the relationships and like how cold they are with each other and how cold they are with even the doctor's like son, how cold he is to everybody. It's very interesting. I love Wild Strawberries.
Yeah, I mean, I do too. But for our listeners, if you're not willing to dive headfirst into Bergman, the movie that I would recommend, and this is maybe a little bit of an odd one, as a precursor is Inside Llewellyn Davis. It's the Coen Brothers 2013 movie because it's got Oscar Isaac, it's got Carey Mulligan, Justin Timberlake, Adam Driver's in a small role. And I think it will establish kind of like it's a really dark topic. And Inside Llewellyn Davis, he's a guy grieving something. You don't know at the beginning. And there is also a similar scene where he goes, instead of seeing his mom, his father, and he can't get what he wants. But you'll see that it's funny and depressing at the same time. And like it's a lot about this character. And I think that sort of is like the transitory space from Star Wars Episode 7 to you watch Inside Llewellyn Davis. If you're vibing with it, I think you should take the dive into Wild Strawberries.
Yeah.
But my last Bergman question for Lydia, because, we'll bring you on next season, but we
Okay.
don't know if we're going to talk about Bergman again. So I want to give you the opportunity. What is your all-time favorite Bergman movie?
I used to say it was Seventh Seal. I need to rewatch it. It's between Autumn Sonata and Seventh Seal. I just love both of those movies because it deals so heavily with internal familial relationships in Autumn Sonata and then relationships with other people in Seventh Seal, and just his way of describing what it means to ponder life or ponder existence rather than just experiencing it, I think is so important, and it's so interesting to see in both of those movies specifically, like what it means to think about your childhood and think about death.
So I'll also throw my 2 cents in there. I will co-sign on Sonata. Plus, I would like to recommend Persona.
Persona's really good.
I think it's fantastic. And this one's even darker than a lot of what we've talked about, but The Virgin Spring. There's a sequence where Max von Sydow, who plays the lead, fights a tree. It sounds ridiculous, but I think it's actually one of it's not even a living tree. He's just taking this rage out of the tree. But I think it's like one of the best movie sequences ever. But that movie is even darker than some of the stuff we've talked about.
Yeah, if you really want to get into if religion is great or bad or doesn't matter, watch Bergman.
He's got the other thing that I love with Bergman is that he runs the spectrum, especially when watching back to back. Every possible viewpoint you can have about religion is covered by one of his characters or covered by one of his movies. I have never interpreted him as even really I don't know what he believes. I watched 20 at what he believes. It's obvious that he's interested in thinking about it. And I think that is also really important if you're going to tackle religion in a movie, is you can't be telling the viewer what to think. You just have to kind of do the pondering. I think that's where he rides so well, is that every character, no matter their perspective, is just as well drawn as the other one. And it's really giving not always completely equal time, because different movies are about different things, but equal respect to any possible viewpoint you could have. And I think that also makes it fascinating. So that's also my plea for listeners, that it's still interesting. No matter what you believe, he's not telling you what to think. I think it's still fascinating.
Well, yeah. I mean, even in Wild Strawberries, there's two people that one is going to be a minister and the other one is completely atheist, and they do not take a side. It is very interesting that no one wins the argument, and even the doctor doesn't even want to take a part of it, but he still recites, I think it's a hymn or something like that. Yeah. But it's the duality of growing up in a religious experience and still maybe not fully taking that in.
Oh, I realized I lied on the podcast.
Okay.
Winter Light is actually my favorite Bergman movie. It's about a priest who's losing faith.
Yeah. A lot of religion.
Yeah. It's about religion. And it actually is the primary inspiration for something that I wrote one time that probably will never get made. But I just wanted to shout out, if something was so inspiring to me that I wrote a full movie, and I would say that's the chief inspiration, I feel like I have to name check it.
Yeah.
Can't let it get forgotten.
That's pretty fair.
Winter Light, fantastic film. It's really depressing, but I'm smiling just thinking about it. But Lydia, now that we're nearing the end of the podcast, I want to ask you. So these are directors that released 2 movies in the same year.
Right.
Incredible accomplishment. But if you merged any of these 2 movies together, which one would you want to see? Would you want to see Young Saddles, Blazing Frankenstein, or Queer Challengers, which is kind of redundant from those 2 movies, or would you rather see Jurassic List, Schindler's Park?
I was waiting for you to get to that one.
Or The Seventh Strawberry, or Wild Seals? You can choose your own title, but which movies do you think would function the best if combined?
I think functioning the best if they were combined.
Yeah.
I think 100% Rear Window and Dial M for Murder.
I didn't even list that one.
Yeah. I think
Dial W for window, Rear Murder.
Rear Murder.
That
Rear
sounds
Murder.
inappropriate.
Yeah. But yeah, I think those movies, I would watch a 4-hour-long cut of a Dial M for Murder happening, and then across the street you have Jimmy Stewart looking and being like, "What the hell's going on?"
That is decisively the best, and then maybe that's why my mind skipped it. Is that making Jurassic List was like too funny in my mind, and it was like a hard thing to pitch to you.
Yeah.
But Dial M for window or whatever we want to call it, Rear Murder is actually probably would be a good movie.
Yes.
And he sort of did that. No, I wouldn't say he did that, but like you could almost argue Rope is like a tiny bit of a combination because it's locked in one room and they're doing stuff with the camera. I don't know if you've seen Rope.
I have not seen Rope.
That might be that. You know what?
I'll put that on the list.
That'll come up on this podcast again. I'm confident.
Okay.
Now I'm going to turn it to our producer. He's brought us a game.
As y'all have discussed, 5 different directors, 10 amazing films, I believe. Sorry, there's a moment where I blacked out.
That's so fair.
Because I was reading all of these.
Yeah.
So this is Find Michael.
Find Michael?
The game is called Find Michael.
Okay.
I'm going to read 3 quotes. And the quotes are going to be from one of the 5 directors or from Michael Cera.
It's pretty good.
And you got to figure out which quote is Michael Cera. So, first quote. Tragedy is when I cut my finger. Comedy is when you fall into an open sewer and die. The second one. Humor is just another defense against the world. The third one. I broke my nose and got a concussion when I was 13. So which one?
Can you read the second one again?
Humor is just another defense against the universe.
So I think first one is Mel Brooks, I think third one is Michael Cera, but I don't know who the second one is.
So it will be the director or Cera. So try to figure out which director it is and which one is Michael Cera.
So I'm predicting 1 and 2, Mel Brooks, and 3 or C. I don't know. Are we doing A, B, C, or 1, 2, 3?
Let's do 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, and 3 is Cera. Is my prediction.
See, I was thinking 2 is Cera. Like I could see that quote being pulled out of like Scott Pilgrim versus the World. 1 is 100% Mel Brooks. Hopefully, we might both be way off base on that. Okay, so I think Mel Brooks did 1 and 3 personally, and Cera did 2.
Okay, what's the answer?
Kyle got it right. The third, I broke my nose and got a concussion when I was 13 is Michael Cera.
Listen, that's so fair.
To pander to Lydia for a second, I feel like Michael Cera's Pacific Northwest coded, but
is he?
I don't know. You're from up there.
I am from up there. I would say he's more East Coast personally. But I also don't know where he's from. He might be from the Pacific Northwest.
I don't know either. I just I don't see. I guess I don't know these things. Okay, anyway, that's number 2, AC.
Okay, the next quotes. I think you should never be forced to be nice as an artist. An artist has to be uncomfortable in a way, narcissistic and uncomfortable. The second one. Since I was 15, I felt kind of like an old man.
That's the full quote?
That's the full quote.
Oh, okay. Hell yeah.
The third one is, I'm a Hitchcockian. I still believe that Psycho sets the standard for mother-son relationships.
Okay, so I think the best outcome is the first one is Cera, and he was like talking about Superbad. Like an artist needs to be narcissistic. But so this one can't be Hitchcock because I love Hitchcock, but I don't think he ever referred to his own movies as Hitchcockian. No. Even he wasn't that arrogant. But I'm not sure what director.
I'm leaning towards Guadagnino personally.
Yeah.
But, I'm thinking. I mean, I feel like the game is going to be did you find 5 of the dumbest Michael Cera quotes that you could? Because I mean, number 2 is definitely Michael Cera, right?
Yeah, I think 1 and 3 Guadagnino, 2 Michael Cera. Are we locking that in? So. Are we a tandem for this one?
You got it.
Okay, good. Yeah. But that first quote, if that was Michael Cera on the set of Superbad, would have been utterly fantastic.
I have a sneaking suspicion that our producer AC found maybe an interview from just him talking about random shit.
But maybe that's just who he is.
That's also very true. I do love Michael Cera.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the third one. I'm an American Jew and aware of the sensitivities involved in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict.
Wow, episode. Yeah. Okay.
I'm going to reread that just because I don't want to laugh.
That was when Michael Cera was talking about Munich, actually.
So I'm an American Jew and aware of the sensitivities involved in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. In high school, got smacked and kicked around. 2 bloody noses. It was horrible. And a third one, I broke my nose and got a concussion when I was 13.
Wow.
So you just reused a quote?
No, it's 2 different
So, wait, was I right? Was Spielberg? Did Spielberg really break his nose?
I think, this is not the correct answer, but I've seen The Fabelmans and he was getting bullied. So I think it would be fantastic if he was actually quotes 2 and 3 and Sarah was quote 1. Because I'm pretty sure Michael Cera's not Jewish, which would make that even funnier. But I think it's going to be Spielberg 1, and I think Spielberg 3?
Yeah.
What do you think,
Yeah.
Lydia?
Yeah.
Sorry. Unfortunately, it was Michael Cera whose nose got broke when he was 13. But Spielberg was bullied in high school. He got smacked and kicked around. 2 bloody noses.
2
It was
bloody
horrible.
noses.
Wait,
horrible.
wasn't number 3 the same quote as the first?
No.
What was the first? What was the first quote?
The first quote was, I'm American Jew.
No. I meant from your first question.
From the very
From the-
beginning?
Yeah, from the very
good.
beginning.
First
I don't know.
Oh, no, you're so right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're so right.
Yeah.
I did reuse the same
Yeah. Well, that's why when you said it out loud, and then Kyle says, yeah, he definitely said that
Oh,
already.
I took screenshots of the wrong stuff.
Hell yeah, brother.
Oh, I'm like a whole quote off.
Do we need a pause?
I gotta find a new quote. Oh, no, okay. I got one.
I think that makes the game better. I have a huge smile on my face.
I do as well. It's great.
I missed to use a quote, but it's okay because I double it up anyway. Okay. The 4th director. The length of a film should be directly related to the endurance of the human bladder.
That's Alfred Hitchcock.
That's
I'm
Alfred
like 90%
Hitchcock.
sure.
I think I've read that before.
My father works for Xerox and fixes those.
Also, Alfred
Yeah,
Hitchcock.
Xeroxing was really big.
My father works for Xerox and fixes those gigantic copy machines that are about 10 foot wide. Or for me, the cinema is not a slice of life, but a piece of cake.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to go. Sarah was number 2, Hitchcock was 1 and 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I really respect the human bladder.
Yeah.
I mean, I respect his thoughts on it, and I also respect that we have a bladder. It's one of my favorite bodily functions. No, strike that. I hate bodily fluids.
I was about to say, I think at the top of the episode, you said how much,
The mic just makes me say things,
You
Lydia,
know?
and then I go, I don't even believe that.
And the final one, I go on a lot of hikes. I read a lot. I play piano.
This is the toughest so far.
I'm autobiographical in the way a dream transforms experience and emotions all the time. And then I am normally afraid of birds and have never dreamt of any bird in my life.
This one is really hard, actually.
I am normally afraid of birds and have never dreamt of a bird in my life.
Because I can imagine both of them saying all 3 of these.
That's fair. I think 1, 2 Bergman, 3 Sarah. Personally.
You know what? I want to zigzag here. I'm going to go 1 Sarah, 2, 3 Bergman.
Kyle, you got the look at the draw. It was
shit.
Birds was Bergman. Dreams, of course, naturally Bergman. But it was Michael Cera who goes on a lot of hikes, reads a lot, and does, in fact, play piano.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
That was incredible.
Thank you for playing Find Michael.
Hey, thank you so much.
That game made me so happy.
Yeah.
And Lydia, I want to thank you for being our guest.
Hell
This is
yeah.
a fantastic episode. Shout out producer AC Hoffman. I'm your host, Kyle Pendleton, and we'll see you next week.